is the beginning of a brand new baby year. And we can make it whatever we want. And many Unity churches have a tradition of having a burning bowl service the Sunday after Christmas. And now usually this happens before the new year actually begins, but this is one of those special years where New Year's falls on a Sunday. And so we've talked about, since I've been here, we've been talking about the importance of releasing things and how it holds you back. And you know, people make a lot of resolutions this time of year. I mean, the day after Christmas, all of a sudden yoga mats were the main thing in all the retail stores, right? And other things like that. But it's good to want to do something new, but we have to recognize how we got here and what has served its purpose. You know, when a baby begins to walk, they have likely become quite adept at crawling, right? Babies crawl like nobody's business. But at some point, they start to learn to walk and run and do those things, and then you become less good at crawling. Now, you wouldn't say that it was a good thing to, like, okay, well, we're going to stop learning how to do those other things because crawling is what we need to keep doing, right? No. It's a natural progression of letting go of a skill that we don't need. Now, when I was growing up, we always had lots of vegetables. I like vegetables, but you know, based on my parents' preferences, there were certain vegetables that we didn't have as part of our normal thing. But I had been reading probably the Ramona series, and I heard about Brussels sprouts and how they hated Brussels sprouts. So I decided that we needed to try Brussels sprouts. So my mom got Brussels sprouts, and she prepared the Brussels sprouts, probably just by warming them up like she did with the broccoli and things, which worked out just fine, but for the Brussels sprouts, meh. And so from that one experience, I decided, well, I'm with Ramona, I don't like Brussels sprouts, but that's fine because we like lots of other vegetables, and we went about our business. So I thought that was the way it was, and then I was getting my meal at the Unity Village Inn, the cafeteria there at Unity Village, and Chef Michael doesn't make anything not good. I don't know if he's capable. So he had roasted Brussels sprouts out. And I was like, well, what the heck? He doesn't make anything that's not good, so I'll try it. And I began my love affair with roasted Brussels sprouts. But I had to decide to ask the question of whether or not something that happened 20 years ago, if I still thought that way. You know, try a new thing. And these are simple examples. These are not a big deal about letting go of something that doesn't serve us anymore. But what happens if we never question our likes or our fears or our assumptions from childhood? What happens if we never say, well, maybe it's time to make a new choice? Just this week, my mom called me up and said, I'm giving away the alpacas. Some of you know, some of you don't know. My mom has had alpacas since I went away to college. I said she went to college and she replaced me with alpacas. In 2002, my mom got some alpacas, and she's had a herd of various sizes ever since then. Most of them have been rescues, and she's been quite a experience, and she's, you know, made all sorts of great things with them, and it's been a wonderful experience. And she said, you know, my priorities have changed. She's spending a lot of time helping out my grandpa, and that means she needs to have somebody to come take care of him, and she's just listening to her body saying, you know, schlepping these humongous bags of feed and all this stuff really just isn't what you need to do anymore. And so she's found someone who has a bunch of alpacas. They have room for them. They, you know, need a new matriarch for their female herd, and mom has the perfect alpaca. So it's like a great fit. So something that was her passion. She said, nope, time to do something different, make a new choice. and let it go. Yes, it's sad. Time to make a new choice. It's a big deal. But when we don't do that, when we don't say, just because something was my passion, doesn't mean that we can't say something new is my passion or something else is a priority now. If we don't do that, if we don't look at those assumptions, if we hold on to things, you know what we do? We get stagnant. And you know how much I don't like that. Some of you may remember the Dead Sea, picture of the Dead Sea. Stagnation is one of those 10-letter bad words. Forget the 4-letter bad words. This is a 10-letter bad word. It means it's 2.5 times worse. It's the beginning of the end. Now that's not to say that in our journey of life there's not periods of rest. That's what the winter season is. But these periods of rest are actually usually periods of transformation and gestation, inner change. We may not see it on the outside. And the difference with attachment and stagnation is that rote way that we just keep doing the things that used to hold joy but don't anymore. If my mom had decided to hold on to those alpacas for another year, she probably wouldn't be a very happy camper about it anymore, because she held on past the time to let go. And I think that this attachment to what was or what could be but probably won't, is what Jesus was talking about in his exchange with the rich man. You may remember, if you don't, here it comes. So we're just going to do the Rachel version. So Jesus was on his way to Jerusalem, and a man came running up to him and said, "Good teacher, what must I do to inherit eternal life?" And he said, "But you know the answer already. You must not murder, commit adultery, steal, lie, cheat, etc., etc." We've heard those before. And the man says, "Well, I've obeyed all these commandments since I was young." And Jesus looked at him and said, "There's still one thing you haven't done." He told him, "Go and sell all your possessions and give the money to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. Then come and follow me." And the man's face fell, and he went away sad, for he had many possessions. And Jesus looked at his disciples and said, "How hard is it for the rich to enter the kingdom of God?" Now, a lot of people hear this story and they think it's about how it's bad to be rich. And I don't think that that's what really the story is about. The story is about attachment and lack of trust. Because it's harder to live our best life and follow your spiritual truth or be a disciple of Jesus or anyone, whatever way you want to call it, if you're caught up in attachments and baggage. Now, there's nothing wrong with having what you need to move your life forward. But what if that's the thing that holds you from making any progress? If having the stuff or having the idea, or it's not just about physical things. It's like, well, I got to keep this role to make me whatever it is. We all have our own stuff around, whatever. Because if you read through the Gospels, you see Jesus and company having meals at people's houses. Well, these were people who could afford to have a whole bunch of people come over and have meals. So Jesus obviously wasn't against people having enough resources to do things like that. But those people were in the flow. They were sharing what they had. See the difference? They were stepping in faith and had trust. And I think that that's what the rich man in the story was missing. He couldn't say, well, I'll let go of all the attachments I have and follow my spiritual truth. He said, no, I'll just sit here with my stuff. It takes courage and faith and trust to do something like that. And so We're at the beginning of this brand new baby year. And here's the thing. Every day, every minute is the beginning of the rest of your life. So just because we do all this New Year's stuff this time of year doesn't mean that you can't decide that, you know, March 2nd is the day that your new life begins. Or whatever day you choose. Because every day you get to choose. And that's really exciting. And there's a lot of responsibility. Because only so much will fit in your day, in your week. And we have no problem saying what we want it to be filled with. We want it to be filled with great adventures and dear friends and deep awakenings and stuff like that, right? But what are you willing to release to get there? Next week we'll do our white stone ceremony and we'll be setting those intentions for the year. But first we must create the way. Because there is only so many hours in the day. And what are we going to spend our time and energy and resources on? So if you're intending to have joyous connections with your loved ones, are you willing to let go of resentment? Are you willing to let go of the hesitation or fear that keeps you from having the hard conversations? If you're hoping to have wonder-filled adventures, are you willing to let go of worry about how it will happen and just trust? Are you willing to release prejudice and meet with curiosity the potential new friends that you'll meet along your adventure? If you're desiring a deeper spiritual experience, are you willing to release self-judgments? Are you willing to put expectations of how it will look aside and take responsibility for taking the step today and taking another step the next day? So soon we're going to go into a meditative time. And you'll have a chance to ask these questions to yourself. What is mine to release today? And I'll lead you through that some. What is getting in the way of my good? What ideas, habits, beliefs may have served me in the past, but aren't needed any longer? What is your Brussels sprouts? And the belief from the past that you thought was true, and then you discovered maybe it's not anymore. Maybe there's a hurt in a relationship and you realize you just don't want to be mad at them anymore. Okay. But we got to remember this is a symbol of our decision. It is a decision we're making not just now and here and in this moment, and it won't magically fix it from now on. But later today, when that resentment, fear, etc., shows up, you get to make the choice again. And you can remember this moment and say, nope, I decided I'm letting that go. And tomorrow, when you don't feel like being nice or whatever it is that you've decided to let go, you got to decide again. And next week, you got to decide again, and again, and again, and again. But this is our line in the sand. This is the day we decide for sure. And again, you can decide this and release other stuff, whatever day it happens to be, March 2nd or some other random day. You get to keep deciding to let it go. Remember this moment, if that helps. Remember your word going up in smoke. Remember that it is done. So we're going to talk a little bit about logistics before we get into it. The piece of paper that you have is tracing paper. It's very, very lightweight. It's the perfect size. I've tested it. So you just let the candle touch the edge of it, and you can hold it for a moment and then let it down in the bowl, and it's do its thing. It'll be great. So don't try to use any other kind of paper or we'll burn the place down. It gets really smoky and all that. We want to breathe. So just stick with the little piece of paper I gave you. It may seem small. You may think, well, I have a whole lot of stuff to get rid of. That's excellent. Maybe you could find a word or a few words to symbolize that. You don't need to write all about, well, I'm going to release that whole thing about my da 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 and the thing that they did about the, you know, you don't need to write the novel's version of it. We're letting it go, remember? So we don't need the story about it anymore. All we need is I release resentment of so-and-so. Or just resentment. You can let it go from everybody. That'd be okay. So, and then so maybe you'll have like a more like a bullet point list of things you're ready to let go. Much easier. And it certainly will fit. You can use both sides if you need to. There should be plenty of hymnals around to use as a hard surface. And so, and then there's a second part. Once you come up here and you do the burning, like I said, you can watch it burn. And then over here, there is a piece of plain paper and an envelope. And you'll grab those. And this is where you'll write a letter to, it's sort of a to from your future self. And so you can write a letter to yourself, and I'm going to mail these to you at some point during the year. I'm just going to see them in my drawer and say, today's the day. And I'm going to send them. It's pretty fun. And so you might write something like, I know that you're making great, whatever you've decided today, maybe you're going to write something to remind yourself, your future self, about whatever you've decided today. Or maybe you're just going to write some affirmations. I am strong, I am worthy, I'm abundant, whatever it is. Whatever you want to tell your future self, that's what you're going to write on your piece of paper. You fold it up, you stick it in the envelope, write your mailing address on there, and like I said, they'll magically show up just at the right moment in your mailbox. They won't magically show up. The U.S. Postal Service will do the job. But so that's what we're going to do, and then you'll just have some time. There's no rush. We're going to start the meditation when you feel it coming up. You'll do the thing, and then you can keep writing. Eventually, we'll move into our closing song and things like that. And if you're not done all the way done, that's okay. You can stay and do that as long as you want. Just let the words come from your heart, and don't let it be complicated. We're going to let go of complicated this year, okay? I've decided for all of us, we're going to let go of complicated. Sound like a good idea? Okay, so Sue's going to turn on some meditation music, and we're just going to move back into that meditative space. And allow our hearts to be open. And allow that, whatever's on our minds, maybe that lets us know something that we're ready to let go of. What beliefs, habits, ideas can we leave behind today? Maybe we feel like we're not good enough for whatever we'd like to achieve. Question yourself, is that really true? Let's let it go. Maybe we'd like to make different choices about our food or our exercise. We can let go of any thoughts of our body not being good enough. So we have room to affirm our strength. Are we ready to let go of fear or dislike, judgment, resentment? So we can allow something better in. So take a few moments. Maybe there's a situation that you'd like to see resolved in a peaceful way. Let's let it go. And so let's just take a few moments to write whatever it is that you're ready to let go this year. Whatever it is you're ready to let go of for this lifetime.